opening, and I'd go apply, and if I got it, I worked, and if I didn't, I'd go on to the next place. And
how did you move from one place to the other?
when I moved from one place to the other, I think somebody either come and got me with a car, or the trains were traveling at that time. I know we used to go to Perdesheen and then take the train to Decorah. But and then if they'd come and get me, we always went down to Lansing, and then they took a ferry across to Wisconsin and then went up to Viroqua that way. In my free time when I wasn't working, I'd either go to the theater there. They had 2 theaters in Decorah. I'd either go to one of them, or we'd go for a walk up in the park, or go to dances, and we went to a lot of dances.
Did you like to dance?
Yeah, I sure did.
What kind of dances did you do?
Well, when the dances we went to was always these old-fashioned waltzes and schottisches and hop waltzes and all that. And that's about the only kind I knew how to do.
Do you remember any boyfriends you used to have? Did you used to go out on dates?
Oh, yeah. I remember when I worked at Allen A. There was a George Lishka from Sparta. And another girlfriend of mine was going with a guy from Waukegan, and the 4 of us used to go out together. And then when I went back to Decorah, well, I had a boyfriend, and then we broke up, and then when I married Nels Tornblom.
Where did you meet Nels?
I think he called me, if I remember right, he called me on the telephone, and we went someplace. I don't remember exactly where we went then.
How old were you when you met?
When I met Nels, I was 21.
Do you remember meeting his family?
His family lived in Sweden, so I never met his family, but his sister lived in Decorah, and his brother lived in St. Paul, Minnesota.
What was your courtship like? What did you used to do on dates?
Well, there wasn't much. Before we were married, there wasn't much to do except go to movies or dances or go on picnics or whatever, but there wasn't much to do in those days.
How long did you know each other before you were married?
Oh, about 6 months. 6 or 8 months.
When did you marry Nels?
I married Nels 8th of May in 1927.
Can you tell us what you remember about your wedding?
Well, I remember our wedding was at a Norwegian parsonage, and Harold and Ruby Erickson was best man and bridesmaid. We were married on a Sunday morning, and it was raining, and oh, it was terrible. And then we went to La Crosse for a honeymoon, and there was no pavement in those days like now, and we got stuck in the mud 2 or 3 times. The roads were so bad because it rained so hard. And we were there maybe a week. We went to theaters and looked the town over, and we went back to Decorah.
Did you stay in a hotel?
We stayed in the Majestic Motel there. No, we did not. We stayed in, I can't remember the name of the hotel, but the theaters we went to was the Majestic. That seemed to be the best one then in Decorah, in La Crosse. No, where was it? Yeah, in La Crosse. We were in La Crosse then.
What kind of wedding dress did you wear?
I had I think it was an ivory color 2-piece dress, short sleeve. It was just like a street dress. It wasn't nothing fancy.
And did Nels wear a suit?
Nels wore a suit and tie and all that. And Harold and Ruby, they weren't real dressed up, you know. It was just regular street clothes. When we first got married, we lived upstairs in in an apartment up by the park in Decorah. We lived there, maybe 6 months, and then we moved down on Goose Green. I can't remember the name of that. Down behind the museum in Decorah. We lived in an apartment down there, but that was on first floor. And then from there we bought a house down on, no, we rented a house on Mechanic Street, and then we bought a house across the street. And we lived there till we moved to Oldwine. The first child was Alvin.
And what's his full name?
Alvin Robert Tornblom. And then
Was Alvin named after anyone?
Alvin was named after my father. The Robert wasn't, but Alvin, my father's name was Alvin, and I named him after him.
What was Nels like as a father?
Well, he was all right for a while, but then he wasn't home too much when the kids were little.
What were Alvin's baby clothes like? Were they like baby clothes they have today?
Alvin's baby clothes, I don't really remember. They weren't like they are today. They were more or less like what we call them rompers. It was like a dress that buttoned across the bottom. And that's about what he wore all the time, was rompers. And then when he got older, of course, then he was like overalls, little overalls or something. He never had jeans or slacks or anything in them days. They were more overall type, or jumpers or rompers and all that then.
Do you remember the first time your mother saw Alvin?
I don't remember that. I don't remember when she saw him first. Probably it was maybe about a month old or something. But she didn't see him right away.
What was Alvin like as a child?
Alvin was good when he was a child. He was real good. He never any problem.
What single story do you remember most about Alvin in his childhood?
I really don't remember too much. Well, he used to play with a neighbor across the alley, Jim Austin, and they'd go down, and we had a creek by the house. And I always told him not to go near that creek, and he'd go down to the creek with Jim. Jim would throw something in the creek, and he wouldn't go get it because he was forbidden to go in there, and he'd make Alvin go down and get it. He always come home wet. And I remember that Jim, wouldn't go get whatever he'd throw in the creek, but he'd make Alvin go get it.